Okay, let's see if this works properly. I was doing it the way I always do it, which, I'm not looking to change how I do. There's probably better ways to do the videos, but I'm not a video guy. Okay? My land is here. This is what I do. The video is just kind of an afterthought. The video is just to babysit myself so I can stay on track. And I go and I look at the video and it says, you know, that it's scheduled. Like, well, I didn't schedule shit. I just did the same thing like I always do. Like, do live, and it takes me 15 or 20 seconds to go on YouTube and set the parameters that you need to, and because God only knows why you can't already always have the same parameters. Maybe you can. I'm just not smart enough to do that. It's all right. The people that are smart enough to do stuff like that, they don't know how to paint figures. So, all right. So hopefully this will be going on and not scheduled for some point in the future. As those damn nerd burglars always have to fuck with everything. Like, hey, the system's working fine. Well, what if we throw a wrench in it? I said, what if I hit you with a damn wrench? Damn nerd burglar. Go kiss a girl or something. All right. Nerd rant. All right, let's put this away. And still got this cough that I can't shake. Thank you, Orlando. Patient zero in Orlando. All right, yeah, we're double fisting. We're double fisting the caffeine here. We're here to get shit done. All right, so this morning, I didn't get a chance to really do this last night. I got back too late from the model meeting. And, starting at 9, it just isn't going to happen. I can't start at 9. It's not like this is so damn pressing that, I can't wait. So this morning, I got in here and started building the Rostavagen. That's not what it's going to be called. Yes, we already have a name for it. We had a name for it before we built the damn thing. I'm one of those. And it is an ice cream truck body. It is going to have a turreted mounted minigun up here. And I finally found the front of this to use for something. So this came in the set from Switchyard Studios. And I've been looking forever to try to find something to do that. It's got a little porthole that's perfect for, putting a machine gun in there and shooting out of it. The problem is because of the angle that it's at. The hole is at 90 degrees to the plate. So what that means, if you put it on a normal front of a car windshield, like something like this, it has too much of an angle, and you'll end up having the gun shooting up at the sky, right? You need something that's more vertical for this to work. So, the front of this ice cream truck, or almost looks like a cross between something the postman drives and an RV. Now, one of the things I'm a little disappointed about this is they give you a little Rasta dude on here, but he's in whiteface, so we're going to make sure he looks Rasta-y, Rasta fruit and veggies. That's not what I think of when I think of Rasta as vegetables and fruits. And I don't know if I'm going to put the driver in here or not. I have this driver, which is perfect. I don't know what he's supposed to be doing. It looks like he's passing a doob to the guy next to him. Outside. It's probably supposed to be a pistol, but it's very... His pistol is shaped like a big, key or something. I don't know. Doesn't look like a pistol. So we got to paint this thing. This is the machine gun that goes in the front. But I've gone all the way around. We've got a little piece of plastic that we're going to put there, and figure out what we're going to do with the door, and then we can go about priming these pieces of plastic. Obviously, the vehicle is going to stay in its Rastafarian colors which honestly are a big attraction. That's one of the reasons that I picked it up. I'm like, that looks pretty cool. You know, that's a pretty cool van. And I have a feeling this is going to be one of my favorite vehicles. I don't know. I think it's unique. Now, this apparently came out in the in the early '80s, '82 or '83. That Hot Wheels came out with this Rasta van. I don't know exactly what it's called, but it's old enough they don't put on here what it is. 1983. Yeah, literally all it says on the bottom is Hot Wheels Malaysia 1983. It doesn't tell you, you know, anything else about it. Usually they'll tell you the model of the car or what the nickname for it is. Like this big gangster thing happens to be called High Roller 2. So apparently there was a High Roller 1. But just like that, even this one, even this van, this is what, Fantasy. That sounds like got some girls in there or something like that. Open the doors and enjoy your fantasy. Welcome to Fantasy Island. Alright, so I could actually leave this open. This little air conditioning window. That's what air conditioning used to be in cars without air conditioning. You got a little window that you'd move it where you needed to. And it looks like this is just a little shy. Oh, maybe it isn't. Alright, let's cut this down and see if we can make a door out of this. And all this is the top of cottage cheese containers. Any plastic thing, you know, it's garbage. You know, we're making things out of garbage. Oh, these are the readers. Okay, well. We need a new one of these because we've used this one for super glue. So this is the next one, and then this guy's next, which doesn't have an interior. It's a weird build. It's weird how that one. It's a non-standard how they put that one together. Well, I'm supposed to game on Saturday, and I would normally film a battle, but I don't know how that's going to work out. So I'm not going to make any promises for you guys. We were supposed to plan yesterday, but Mitch decided to take off, so I didn't get a chance to really talk to him. And I don't know if the person that's going to be gaming with us is amenable. Ooh, big word today. Amenable to being filmed. I don't think they've been on film before. Of course, I may film when you guys say, yeah, I don't put that guy on film anymore. He's got a bad attitude. He's not that bad. He just does not like to play by committee. That's one of his things. That's actually where it comes from. He does not like command by committee. And I'm sorry, I like command by committee. It's fun. That's why you play with other people, so you have some interaction, you know? Alright, well that works fine. I'm going to actually cut a little window in it. Hey, Ulfman! Late on your end. Do you see that message that I sent you? I couldn't remember what the name of those people were. And then in looking for like alternative names, you know, for the future, not necessarily, actually technically for this guy, because he's got like this star-spangled fuck, whoever he is. Yeah, I came across that other nickname for him. It was hilarious. I about chuckled all by myself, and I'm all by myself, and I chuckled. We're not going to call him that. We're not going to call him that on video. That's just asking for problems. Not on video, we could say it all day long, but I need to find where the hell my pencil went. Because the pencil actually works really well for marking stuff. The permanent marker does not. It actually smears like crazy. Okay, here's one. Alright, so we're going to cut a little window in here so this guy can breathe. So this ganja smoke can come out. But there's all kinds of names that I could come up with this thing. First thing I was going to do, Fasta Rasta, or Rasta Fasta. Jamaica Me Crazy. Cruel Gunnings. But this is going to be the Rasta Blasta. Because we're going to have this big old cannon up here on it. It's going to look really good. I mean, it already looks like that. I mean, that belongs on it. Some of these weapons are really oversized. So when you have to kind of take the opportunity, like if it's on a big vehicle, like put it on there, because you can't put it on the little ones, you know. So there's chain guns up here on top. It's turreted. We have this oversized AK that's going to go here through the porthole in the front. So it's going to have a chain gun that does 360, and then the HMG through the front. In reality, is if this ice cream truck could have a crew of 3. I'm sorry. If it could have 3 builds, ideally I would have liked to have had a machine gun in the front, a machine gun in the rear, and then one on the side that can shoot out of both sides. You know, kind of like those guns on the B-17s, the 50s on the B-17s. You know, just to kind of mix it up. I don't think a side-mounted gun is ideal, and I really wanted to put a ram on it because it has a very delicate looking front. You know, I would have liked to put something like this on it, but it takes up a build slot. So if I do that, then all I'm going to be able to do is the chain gun in the top. You know, and I want to use the front of this thing. I've been trying to use the front of this for a long time, but it's hard finding a front that is vertical enough for it to work. Most of them are just too angled, and then you put a gun in there and it's shooting up at the sky 45 degrees. It doesn't look very believable. Alright, so this is going to attach like this. I need to put an opening, and I want it kind of a little on the high side so that it matches this over here. Actually, if we close this up and we do end up deciding to put a driver in here, well, we won't be able to, because his hand will be sticking out the damn door. Well, I could just put a halvesy door, and then I keep all options. All options? Boy, talk about being creative in how I talk. Let's do that. Let's put a halvesy door. A Dutch door. Something like this. Actually, need a little lower than that. So I made a list, and not only do I have 20 vehicles, but 14 of them are 27 points. And this one will be 27 points as well. And I think that that's a good thing, because then you could like just roll for them. Like, oh well, the game's not balanced. I said, well, then they did their point distribution wrong because this is a 27-point car vehicle. See if we can get a little bit more out of this little squeeze here. And this one will be a 27-point vehicle as well. And that's by design. And the next group up is 35, by the way. There's a 35-point group. And no, I don't have to do that, but it makes sense. Because you could just take something that's really cheap, like a buggy, and just start adding, like, okay, I got 2 build slots, but let's make 2 turreted weapons, and then, we'll put armor, not armor on it because you can't do that, but add a 3rd crew member. The next thing you got a 60-point buggy. You need to make, I particularly want to make vehicles that aren't going to be good at everything. They're going to have issues. If you make every vehicle a super weapon, then it has to fight other super things too. Okay, I think that should work. We're not going to worry about that guy just right yet. So let's go over here and get a little bit of this primer and start priming these things. I let my phone go down to the lowest level I remember that it ever being. I got to 10%. That's like unheard of for me. But yesterday I could have painted, but it's just too hard to get started at 9. I'm usually having coffee or something like that, and I don't, speaking of which, and I don't, I don't need to be drinking coffee at 9. It's bad enough to have it at 8. Golf said hi and went to bed. I don't blame you. It's freaking early where you're at. Of course, you're young, so you're still a night owl. I say that like, old people are supposed to be the ones that go to bed early and wake up early. All the old people I know. All the people that I know that are older than I am, they're night owls. My mom, Don, Mitch. Mitch isn't that much older than me, but he is older than me. I can't imagine, like, on a weekend waking up at, like, 11 or something like that. Like, your fucking day's gone. That's way too late to be having coffee for the first time. 11 o'clock. You had coffee at the club last night and it was up till 2. It was mad. Yeah, I mean, I don't mind staying up late. As long as there's something worth staying up for. Like, there was, when I came back from Orlando 2 days later, I was having trouble sleeping because of this coughing. There was one night I woke up at like 3 and I'm like, fuck this, I'm staying up. Because I just didn't want to deal with it anymore. But, yeah, I just can't stay up. I can't stay up late because it screws up. Even if I'm able to stay up late, it just screws up it's like giving yourself jet lag. It'll screw up my whole week. That's like those days that I go to Mitch's house and I stay till like midnight I stay till midnight, and then I gotta go home, and I gotta be up at 5. If I'm not up at 5, then it screws up my whole week. I don't want to get up at like 6:30 and be rushed to go to work. Like, that's like the worst thing you could do to me. It's like, not only do I have to go to work, but now you're gonna rush me to get to work. I'm like, no, absolutely not. I'm rushing for all kinds of reasons at work, anyways. I don't need to do it while I'm not there as well. But everybody I know that's older than me, it's like, man, they're all night owls. My mom will be like, she'll be up till like 2 o'clock in the morning. I'm like, what the fuck? I mean, I drove back from the hobby meeting relatively early yesterday. Hobby meeting let out at like 8:20, something like that. So I got home before 9, and even it's pitch black. And at that time, it's like, I don't like driving at night. And it's not that, I don't trust myself. I don't trust other people. You can't see if there's something on the road that you're going to run over. Everybody's late for everything, and they want to get there yesterday. I'm like, well, you should have started the day before yesterday then. Tractor trailers everywhere. And if you go on the small roads, you're going to eat a deer, So, at the club, the country club? There's no club in your village. Off to the village club, eh? I would like a clubbery, but one that's not too expensive. Oh, War Games Club. Oh, okay. You want clubbing, huh? Oh, that would be the club. 5 games a hot. That's still the hot, the original one that was, based on 2.2? Man, that was really confusing. When I was first started playing DBA, I'm like, yeah, let me play some hot, and I'll play some DBA online, and learn how to play DBA 2.2. What a shit show that was. What a confusing mess. I think I was trying to learn how to do all this stuff. One of the big wigs that was playing DBA online, I don't know where the hell he went. He might have been just somebody who played online and never played face to face. But he was a pencil dick. This one guy. God, I wish I could remember who it was. I want to say he had some kind of a Greek name, and he wasn't Greek. He's just, he picked the name of some philosopher or something like that. Anyway, this guy was like a prick. Yeah. Yeah, I have the 2.2 one. There's some things that it did better than the 2.2 DBA, but I wish they would have had more commonality than they did, Because then you'd be like, I'm not into fantasy stuff. I'm going to play Spartans. And then you'd be like, okay, well, I want to use skeletons. So you use skeletons, and, you can play along, You can play with somebody who wants to play fantasy stuff. Although fantasy stuff in 15 millimeter is pretty hard to come by. There's only select few manufacturers that make that stuff. Only a select few. You know, there's not a lot of people that play DBA, but I feel like there's even less people that play hot. I'm not trying to poo-poo you. I'm just saying that even though it is more flexible than DBA because you can create your own army list and stuff like that. I just don't feel like there's a lot of people that play it. You know, the reality is the DBA format of being abstract really turns a lot of people off. Some people don't like to look at a unit and go, "Oh, that's 1,000 men." They want to be like, "No, no, it's 4. I see them right there." I'm like, "Well, that's a skirmish game." DBA doesn't behave like a skirmish game. And that in the language that the rules are written in. Some people just look at them like, "Oh, this is freaking. I can't make heads or tails out of this. I'm gonna go find something else." They'd rather play something that's a set of rules that's made by a figure manufacturer and changes every year. You know. Look, these set of rules have some holes in them. Gaslands has some holes in them. But I'm not letting that slow me down. We'll come up with our own rulings for it. We don't care how you play it at your house. I'm not dealing with skirmishers that don't shoot at a distance. Nonsense like that. So we're going to try the. We've already switched over to the. You know, when you spin out or whatever, you roll to see which way you're facing. Not your opponent gets to choose which way you're going. So we've already switched over to that. That worked great. Next thing we're going to do is randomize who goes next. You know, the pole position guy will still go first. Everybody else got to draw a chip, and that's the order that you go in. You know, so you could have this car go first. You're in the first gear phase. This one go first. Pull another one. Then it's this one. Then the Rasta van. Okay. Then if everybody went to the second gear phase, if everybody upshifted and they're eligible to go in the second gear phase, then the guy in the pole position will go first, and then these 3 will randomly select. So you technically could have the pole position guy go car 1, car 2, car 3, pole position guy, and car 3 again. So you could technically go 2 turns in a row, but you're going to have the pole position guy in there. Figure there's no point in messing with the pole position yet. There's a reason, there's a counter for it and something, but you know, it's too predictable knowing that you're going to go in front of this other person every time. Might just be in our area. Hot is way more popular than DBA, but DBMM was the ancient game of choice till a few years ago. I've not played it though. Yeah, me neither. Well, it's important that what you want to play, people in your area play it. Otherwise, you're fucked. I mean, it's that simple, you know? It's that simple. I'm going to use the little boy's room. I'll be right back. Okay. Always get sidetracked. All right. Let's see what we left. Let's see if we didn't have this that dried up on the paintbrush. Yeah, I played hot 3 times, I want to say. And I didn't hate it. The problem is that it didn't have enough commonality with DBA. You know, I played it back when we were playing DBA 2.2. You know, it's mostly it's the conforming crap. You know, you can have like different factors. Like, okay, we don't have cavalry anymore. Now we have riders, or we don't have light. I forget which one it is. They got light horse or riders or whatever. The troop types, that's the easy part, man. You'll have that memorized in no time. You could even create more troop types. That isn't the issue. The issue is like all this. Well, if one guy's conforming, but he hits the angle, he's got to hit the side. That everything that gets in the way of getting into combat and actually duking it out is the problem. That's the pain in the ass. You start like doubting, like like you'll do something that's like, well, it works in DBA, but it doesn't in hot, or vice versa. So you end up like not going in with a you'll have a if it's one thing if you can like look at the situation and go, okay, I should do this, but then you roll dice and things go sideways from dice rolls. That's fine. But when you go in and you think you could do A and you actually were mistaken, that's really frustrating. Especially when you're not playing hot as a noob, I mean, the last time I played hot, I think was the same year that I ended up winning the national competition, whatever. The national competition for everybody that cared to show up. You always do that whole thing. It's like, well, not everybody voted for him. Well, everybody that voted, most of the people that voted, won for somebody in a popular vote. I said, well, most people didn't vote. I said, okay, well, I beat everybody that decided to fucking show up, so if you decide not to show up, I'm not going to show up just so Tony can't say he beat everybody. Okay, dude. So anyways, regardless, that that happened at a time when, I wasn't exactly, didn't know what I was doing. So I wish it had more commonality to it. There's some rules at the time that I thought were better in hot than in 2.2. But the reality is they should have both been the same. Should have been the same rule, whatever it is. Go with the hot one. That's fine. I don't particularly care for designing my own armies, but I know that's kind of big on a lot of people. I like designing these cars, but there's not one that, not one shoe that fits all of them. They have weaknesses. Just painting the inside of this, so somehow you get a glimpse of this. It'll be black. It's not obtrusive. But I think hot is the brainchild mainly of the Richard Bodley Scott, if I remember correctly. That's his. He's the main influencer of that. So. Yeah, I think I played it 3 times. Which by my counts, that would be like, hardly at all. But it's never been really popular in Florida. Technically, I could allow myself to play hot because it's not DBA, but I don't really want to play something and then not, build stuff for it. And we're not doing that. We did enough of that. We put too many other things on hold. Okay. And we need this MG. I actually watched at lunchtime. I don't think it was today. It must have been another earlier this week. Somebody did a play-by-play because I really haven't watched any of the videos. Any of the play-by-plays for Gaslands because we are going to do Gasland videos or whatever we end up calling it. You can't. You're playing the rules wrong. It's not Gaslands. Fine, we'll fucking call it something else. And anyways, I was watching this video and this guy did things wrong right off the bat. It's hard to get shit right. Even if you're not nefarious. But he was playing like a death race and his weapons were active after, from the get-go. Well, I actually like that change that they don't allow you to do the guns active from the get-go because you could just have a shootout at the OK Corral, 10 yards inside the racetrack. That defeats the whole purpose of, driving around, gunning people down. Okay. This guy is going to have this big, huge cannon. This big old cannon there, which all it is a heavy machine gun, but, And it's almost like missing something in the front here. It doesn't even have any doesn't even have any headlights or anything. So it just looks like something's missing. So that's why I decided I was going to put a ram on this thing. Because it's like missing something. So, heavy machine gun, a ram, what else has it got? Oil slick. It's got the rear drive skill. And it may or may not have nitro on it. I haven't decided yet. But the rear wheel drive skill allows, when it's time to pivot, you can actually pivot across the front. I don't know how useful that is, but, it's something. It's long. It definitely looks like it's got rear wheel drive for sure. Honestly, it looks like some kind of stretch Bentley or something. Yeah, so this is going to go something like that. I think this was, it was this one. This is the RAM that goes on it. Okay. You go away. We'll be back in the parts box. All right, so we need 2 more thingies. Definitely going to have silver rims on this thing, or silver wheels. I really wanted to put that really long cannon on there, but it was too long. So we done with this? Nope. Not even close. No, I'm probably not going to buy this Vallejo primer again. The Ammo MIG one works so much better. But the problem that this one has is not getting up into the crannies, because it does a great job of that. I mean, it's like thinned down. It's like thinned down in ammo black. It just gets in all the little crannies, and then it'll pop, and it won't pop and have these little color, where the paint didn't get. It's really, it's good stuff. It's just not very durable. Makes me doubt its durability. And I used to use Model Master Acryl Black for many, many years. Till they, axed that. I'm already yawning. I don't know if I'm going to make it here. I'm going to need your guys' help. Okay. Another one of these urban gangster vehicles. All right. It's dry. Excuse me. Let's go get this 10 bits or whatever the hell it's called. 10 bits is what it used to be called. Rough iron, or what the hell is it called? Rough iron, that's what it is. 10 bits. Yeah, I don't know how long, much longer I'm gonna make it. I'm drinking coffee and yawning and. I bet if you play a lot of hot, you could make your own army. But I bet there's still a lot of armies you encounter. Like of all the, you could basically have your entire imagination to choose from, and there'd be somebody that'd be doing like Game of Thrones or something. I wonder what that would be. I wonder what the most popular hot army is. Especially when hot isn't limited by having a certain number of army numbers. You could literally make whatever the hell you want. I wonder what the most popular army of those is. Like a Hogwarts army. I mean, it wouldn't be that one, but I'm just saying, Probably Lord of the Rings ones are generic fantasy. Undead and barbarians must be up there too. See, I do undead. I always had a soft spot for undead. I remember the first time that I played, I went over to one of my wife's family members' house way back when, 2004, 2005, something like that. And they were, I think it was 2004. And they were playing World of Warcraft. And I'm like, this looks like a pretty cool game. And I'd never played an open world game up to that point. And I'm like, all right, well, look. I ended up getting it, or I don't know, whatever it was, $7 a month or whatever it was they were charging for it. And I'm like, made my first character, and I'm like, all right, I want to play an undead warrior, right? Because he looks kind of cool. I'd played Warcraft 3 and then Death Knight. Every time you clicked on him, he was like, like everything was a problem. Like, I'm like, all right, that'd be kind of fun to play that. And then you end up playing one of the undead guys, and there's this thing called a tank, which up to that point never existed. Like, oh, so this guy is a warrior, but he doesn't do the most damage? I'm like, okay, well, this is fucked up, Diablo doesn't work this way, and Dungeons and Dragons doesn't work this way. Oh, well, he just soaks up damage. I'm like, then why even give him a fucking weapon then, Why even bother? I don't want to play no damn tank. Not if you're going to be like that. And none of the undead in that game looked worth a damn as far as I'm concerned. They had too much meat on them. Like, I'm going to show you something, since you mentioned that. I was looking around on Etsy, and which is where I got some of these weapons and stuff. And there's another vendor on there that I'm getting really low on certain things. Certain things I have tons of, but like I'm out of rams. So I was like, I got all the rams that this particular company made. This particular guy made on Etsy. And there's 3 or 4 of them that do that sell these parts on Etsy. Well, one of them is called, and I haven't ordered from them before, called Creepy Hero Studios. I believe it's Creepy Hero Studios. And Creepy Hero Studios makes some stuff in other scales as well, including, I believe they're the ones that make some undead. I could be wrong. Oh, they're from New York. They truly are creepy. How do I find your items, dude? But anyways, this particular one made 3 skeletons. A set of 3 skeleton heroes. They're badass looking. I mean, I believe it's these guys. I could be wrong. It might actually be somebody else. Cosplay items. No thanks. Okay, so how do I search? This is one of these things that... Let me see if I can search for skeletons on their site. Man, they were really cool looking. And it's like one of those would be like, yeah, that's what I wanted my character to be. I think it's these guys. It's not. It's not these, but it's they look like this. And they're of course 28 millimeter. Those guys are really cool. Those guys are really cool. It wasn't those guys, but they looked like that. In other words, they had armor on them, and they looked really awesome. I'm gonna have to find them, but it was 3 of them. But all 3 of them were different. It was like that. They were like heroes. You have some Demon World dwarves on the way for the next hot. You know, I remember Demon World around 2000. No, I was already doing DBA. So it must have been like 2005, 2006. You couldn't get them. And they were going for like $50 a pack on eBay and stuff like that. And then whoever released them, Ralpartha, whoever it was, you know, supply and demand. Oh, they're available now? You know? Evening from Winchester, Virginia, getting prepped for upcoming HMGS Fall In convention. Oh, well, good luck. I've never been to Fall In and never will go. It's just the wrong time of the year. Fall In isn't a terrible time of the year. The spring one's not much better. Historicon was the only one that, you know, and I'm probably not going to go to Historicon again. And it was not because it's not a good time. It's not because it's too expensive. It's not because it's too far away. It's too many days off for that. I'm very limited on how many days off I get. And it's a pain in the ass to take any of them off. You get punished having to do too much work ahead of time. But, I mean, I went the first year I heard about it, 2006. So 2006, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19. Then the COVID shit happened. Then I came back to do 21 and 22, and I haven't been since. And I don't miss it, you know. I don't, not that big of a deal. You know, those Etsy ones look like Games Workshop Sepulchral Guards Skellies. Yeah, it's not that, I'll have to find them. I'm sure I'll find them in the next couple days, and I'll just send you the link of what it is. But it was like 3 of them, and they look like skeleton heroes, right? Like, you got your regular skeleton-looking dudes, and then you got it's like, sometimes skeletons don't look right, like wearing armor, because it's like, you know, you got a guy that's like this big around, and he's got a helmet that's like fucking this big. It's like, how's that guy keep it on his head? But when they're filled in with other armor and stuff like that, you know, kind of like those, remember those, were they skeletons? No, they were ghosts. They were invisible. On Bed Knobs and Broomsticks, you know, where the Nazis invade, you know, Britannia. I always liked that scene as a as a kid. And they've got enough armor and stuff on them that look filled out. Not like, some, just some fence post with a fucking helmet on them. It just doesn't look like, they'd be able to carry that weight. But those three skeletons, and I have a soft spot for skeletons, I would have a skeleton armies. Cold Wars is early February in Pennsylvania. Well, 1 year, that's pretty early. Normally it's in March. 1 year, I've never been to it. It's like if I'm going to make that long of a trip, it might as well be 1 day longer. But, there's a lot of people that live near those conventions, and they're like, I can't go during this summer. I don't have time to, like, okay, well then, we're driving 14, 15 hours and not bitching about it. I guess you don't need a game that badly. But I'll probably never go again. And that's all right. What am I going to do? Go shop? Do a video on all the vendors? I really like doing that. But I'm like, that just doesn't, that uses up, one trip to Historicon uses up almost a third of all my days off in a year. And I've been maxed out on days off for over a decade. So, yeah. I'm not doing that. Alright, so, the base color of this, I think, was just a standard white. Although I'm going to go ahead and go with ivory. So we're going to dry brush some of this ivory over these parts that are metal, so that it looks like some paint was on there, and then we'll add the rustification-ary stuff. Yeah, I've never been to Cold Wars, never been to Fall In. Only Historicon. And I don't need to go. And I'm never. The host can go to hell. The host is just. The last time I went to the host is like, I'm not going to the host again, and I never stayed there, thank goodness. But it's like a dump. I work too hard to be able to put up with that nonsense. Now, the facility at Historicon in downtown Lancaster is amazing. But they need to do something about room nights, because, you can't ever... I had to pull some strings to be able to stay at the hotel that one time that we were able to stay there. I had to call my agent. My special agent. My special travel agent. And she was able to pull some strings. But, it's like, you're going to have 3,000 people can attend, and, you got a room block of like 80 rooms or 60 rooms or 40 rooms or whatever the hell it is. Compared to most monster models, skeletons are easy to paint. I've always thought they're cool. Still, my favorite monster is still a Minotaur. I got a soft spot for Minotaurs. So we still want some of this Rustafarian stuff. Did you just say Rustafarian? Yeah, I sure did. Shine through. We're going to do the same way that we did in Mr. Green Screen. Except obviously it's not green. But I went to a IPMS show for an hour and a half and picked this up, or maybe it was because it was in Orlando. I'm not in a big hurry to go to other shows. There's too many sickly fuckers there. And it's my own fault. I went to Historicon the year after COVID and didn't get sick because I was popping emergencies all the time. Got these little powders you can just drink. Just to boost your, so you don't get a common cold. That's it. I'm not worried about getting anything sick, anything serious. I don't want to get a fucking cold, Now this cute little Rastafarian dude here on the side, for whatever reason, they decided to not give him a colored face. Well, what the hell do you mean by that? I'm saying his face is fucking whiter than Michael Jackson's. So we're gonna paint. We're gonna try to watercolor it a little bit, and that way you can see that he's one of them. You know. We don't want some disenfranchised Rastafarian. We're using big words today. Disenfranchised. That sounds like somebody took your McDonald's away. Oh, you lost your franchise. You've been disenfranchised. I'm real particular about certain monsters. I generally like games. I don't buy any Games Workshop stuff, but I generally like the way Games Workshop sculpts things, except their trolls. I think their trolls look stupid. The trolls need to look like that corncob nosed troll, like from Ralph Partha. That guy's a classic. He's got like the swept back hair, almost like like the Gauls or ancient Britain, with lime in their hair. Looks like that. He's got that big, long corncob type nose. You know which one I'm talking about. That guy looks cool. The problem with fantasy comes in a couple different flavors that they do some annoying shit. They'll either make magic users too powerful or they don't make them powerful enough. You either got the magic users that are like, oh yeah, I can cast a fireball. Well, that's pretty awesome. Often. How often can you do it? Once a day? Well, that just ain't gonna cut it. You're getting the fuck out of this party. You ain't gonna cut it. You need to deliver more than that. And then you got somebody like Jane Grey that just sits there and just the whole world, the whole universe melts. Like, okay, you got to be somewhere in the middle. If fireballs are doing about the same amount of damage as sword strikes, then you probably need to be able to cast them about the same frequency, right? Think Diablo, right? Like, maybe you don't have a really big spell, but your standard spell, you could cast out one infinitely. Like, you need to be able to, deliver. Not just sit around there and read your books there. Play with your beard there. This looks kind of shitty right now, but as I always say, trust the process. We got lots of experience. We got lots of things that we have surmounted and been like, I don't think this is going to turn out, but all right, I'll bang my head into the wall and we'll finish it. And then I'll be like, I'll be damned. I knew I should have listened to myself. All you got to do is just finish the task. Yep. You collected most of my 28mm monsters using Reaper Bones models for Frostgrave's miniature. Reaper, is that the one that is they come in like this color? And that actually might be why they're called bones. I've seen them. They're like resin or whatever. There's a lot of, I don't do fantasy, but there's a lot of fantasy models that are really cool. Like, really cool. I always wish you could have done like a skirmish game. Like, because, I don't want to do role play. Role play to me is just like a waste of time. But the last convention I went to, I basically played a whole day of nothing but Hero Quest. I'm like, that's what I want. I want tactical combat, and it can be light. It doesn't have to be like super detailed. I don't want it to be too simplistic, but that's the kind of stuff that I want to do. Like, okay, go and block this guy and attack that. And I had a really good time playing it. Of course, I played a human knight. Why wouldn't I want to play that? You know, I'm playing no halfling. A couple of the players were like fighting over wanting to be dwarves. One guy was even saying, it's like, yeah, I like playing guys that have beards like me. Because he like had like a long beard, so he had to play a dwarf. You know, I had to go looking for a dwarf to play. And I'm like, yeah, well, I like playing clean-shaven characters that are human, like me. Like, I can grow a beard. I don't have to prove anything, you know? Like, you know? Once you can grow a beard, it's like, you know what? I won't, because it's a less of a pain in the ass. Like I told him, I said, hey, I don't have a good personality like you. I got to rely on my looks. I can't go around looking all disheveled and shit. You know? All right. You get into Frostgrave Wizard Apprentice up to 8 henchmen. Look at... Well, I can't... dude, I am totally willing to play any of that stuff. I just can't... I can't pay that. I mean, I can't do DBA and do all this stuff. You know? I'm all for playing the fantasy stuff. Like, you know... I mean, I had a really good time playing with some of these people. Although some of these people, like... You know, some people just don't want to have a good time. You know? And I like cooperating. I do. I mean, I don't have to, you know, bend over for somebody, but, you know, it's a group effort, you know? You know, we were playing, and it was like, well, you could, you know, you killed that guy. You could steal the gold. I'm like, it's your gold. I saw you do it. You killed him. I'll wait around till you grab it. I mean, I'm not going to play a dishonest knight. I mean, I want to play somebody dishonest. I'll play, you know, somebody dishonest, but... You know, the only thing I don't like about playing fantasy stuff and science fiction is there's a lot of people. There's a lot of people, and I'm not saying this is you, but you'll know what I'm talking about. There's a lot of people that they won't try historical stuff at all. They want you to, and I'm not saying you're saying that, but I know you do historical stuff as well. Like I said, I played a whole convention. Basically, the whole time I was there, I played HeroQuest and had a great fucking time. And I had a great time playing with other people and interacting with them, and actually, several people that were historical players ended up playing with me a couple times, and, you know, it was fun. But, you know, if you cater too much to these people, like, all right, I'll play your fantasy game, and maybe you'll play the historical one, they just won't return the favor. I don't know what it is about some people that just absolutely hate playing things that are historical. And I'm like, it's an opportunity to, like, you know, play something, and then, like, let me read about what really happened. Same thing with the cars. Like, oh, you're just playing with toy cars. I like going in here like, all right, I'm building this 64 Nova. So I go online, what colors are the inside and interiors of the 64? It's cool. It's cool to learn about shit. It's cool to use your freaking brain. You know? Gaming for me has always been about learning something. At whatever I want it to. Like, you know, reading books. I hated reading anything they assigned to me in school. Why? Because it's fucking stupid, and I'm not interested in it. It's not that I don't like to read. It's just that I don't want to read your crap, you know? I don't want to learn about freaking Charles Dickens. Like, I'm not interested in that. It has nothing to do with not wanting to read. I just don't want to read your crap, you know? Lord of the Flies? I never read Lord of the Flies. Who gives a shit about that? Do I still have that book? I was talking about this the other day. No, I think I looked for it. I couldn't find it. I still have it, though. I still have a book that I got at a book fair in 5th grade. You know, and it was a book on the Channel Dash. You know, the three German ships that ran from Brest back to Germany, try to cut through the channel. So I thought in junior high, so in 6th grade, I thought that's when I got into World War II, but I guess it was 5th grade. All right, I think that's going to be enough to kind of get the ball rolling. All right, I'm going to go take a leak, get a refill, and I'll be right back. See if we can knock this guy out today. I mean, just something like something as stupid as Wikipedia is enough to get your brain percolating. You're like, oh, what about this? Oh, what about this? You know, you're playing some game with an airplane. Like, oh, I want to encounter this one. What's the difference between them? You know, you just start inquisitive, opening the pores in your brain. And I already messed up, by the way. It's not a huge mess up. It's just not efficient. The base of this needs to be the same color as well. The base of this particular vehicle. I just wasn't as efficient as I could have been. Well, I can't be efficient and run my mouth. They're mutually exclusive. All right, so I went to this last show that was in Orlando. Obviously, it's very small compared to even Fallon or something like that. You know, it's a tenth the size of a Historicon. And I had a hard time finding stuff to play. I had a hard time finding stuff to play. You know, because a lot of games, if you don't know who the game master is and you don't know who the people are playing, you could have a crappy time. There's some folks out there that, believe it or not, don't want to have a good time playing games. I think some people just, their life sucks and they need a win, And, when you're playing a game that's competitive, one side's got to win, one side's got to lose. And it's like, too much is riding on a win for those folks. I don't know that there's a huge percentage of people that are that way, but I would say a third. I'd say a third of the players are that way. And believe it or not, I actually thought that the crowds that would play stuff like DBA or the least, not competitive, I wouldn't say that, but the least dramatic in that respect. And it's literally the only game I've ever played that's competitive. A tournament, I should say. Every game's competitive, unless you're trying to lose. What are you here for? Oh, I'm playing for a loss. Okay. But what I really enjoy playing is, lately, I've noticed ever since I started playing, filming the last couple years of the DBA videos, is I really enjoy playing by committee. And that's when you just talk out loud what you plan on doing, and people can have input. Now, ultimately, if it's my troops, I get the final say. But, if I'm on the fence about different things, I don't do it to argue with people. I actually do it to socialize. I really enjoy playing by committee. And maybe that stems from, playing DBA and looking at all my options, verbalizing all my thoughts, so that people that aren't familiar with the system can kind of follow along. But basically not pull any punches. Okay, this is why I'm doing it and this is why. I know one person that we play with does not. He actually coined the term command by committee. And I don't know how Mitch feels like it. I don't think that he minds it too much, because that's how we pretty much play now, and I like it, All right. Yaman. All right, I'm going to see if I can jump the shark here. Give a little bit of a strong tone to these white pieces, and hopefully won't wash any of this stuff away. We're just going to go really, really light, just so we can kind of give them the same tone that the rest of this is. Because this was all bright white, not creamy, bright white. Now, one of the things that is intrinsic to an ice cream truck in this game is it has a thing called infuriating jingle. And basically what infuriating jingle does, if I remember correctly, is it basically means that if anybody tries to ram this thing, they don't get any hazards from that. In other words, the jingle is so freaking annoying that it doesn't, it makes you want to go out and do that. So I'm thinking, okay, so you got this Rastafarian food truck. What song are they freaking playing over and over and over again? Now, I I personally, of all of the island music, I would say reggae for me is the best one. It's much better than the freaking Parrot Head folks, and it's much better than what else? What's the other one? Beach Boys. Beach Boys gets annoying, and Jimmy Buffett gets like sounds like a sad carnival. But I much prefer reggae stuff. So I'm thinking, what reggae tune would be really annoying for them to play all over the place? I don't know. I can't think of one. Certainly, it's. This thing's gonna be a freaking hoot. This is gonna be a hoot. Getting you inspired to restart your gas. Well, don't do it because of me. I'm just, I'm basically done doing World War II stuff for a while. And it's not because I don't like World War II. It's just, I see that I want to film some more games because really cool things happen in games, and I don't really want to keep that to myself. And this is a very dynamic game where lots of interesting things can happen and do happen. Now, with that said, I'm not going to run it by the book. There's some things that need enhancement. It's nothing major, but I'm not trying to sell the rules, right? I just want a better game. So, this whole business of, the next person in line gets to pick which way you're facing. That's gotta stop. That has stopped. Like we're rolling the D12 and you roll, and that's which face of the clock you're doing and stuff like that. And this weekend when we play, we're gonna start randomizing who goes next because it's just too predictable. You take some game like Hero Clicks, which we tried playing 7, 9 years ago, whatever. And yeah, it's hokey and it's clicky and it's collectible, even though we're not playing in the collectible wise. You're still doing with points and things like that. But the worst thing about the game, it was way too predictable who was going to go next. Like you knew you were always going to be able to pick a guy, so you're going to pick Spider-Man when it was your turn, and this guy would always pick the other one. It was just too damn predictable. All right. While this stuff dries, we need to do black lining, which is crucial. And is actually probably the most painstaking thing I do that I enjoy the most because it is worth every single ounce of time you spend on it. I think anyways. Where is this? Here we go. And this is a color that could be used to be replaced. This is an original one that I probably bought 20 years ago, and I've probably used ivory maybe 3 times now. So I got it from Brookhurst Hobbies. It was probably sitting on a shelf for who knows how long, and it was, half falling apart anyways. So we want to use one of these that's really thin. Works better if it's really thin. And these products are awesome. These quick shade products are great. And what's really great about them is they thin excellently with water. So we're going to put dark tone, which is their Null Oil version. Put a little bit of water here to thin it down to my liking. And let's get all little panel lines on it. So, like this panel line here with the door. These vehicles have decent detail. And I was all for stripping them first, but the problem is if you strip them, you lose all these, graphics that are already on here, and there's some nice graphics on here. And it's a hell of a lot quicker. But the Gaslands really has kind of picked up steam and worked for me once I realized, I'm just going to pre-make the cars for everybody. I get the creativity to be able to come up with them, and people can just randomly roll to see what car they're using instead of, spending an hour trying to figure out how to build one and then building it incorrectly. But I'm probably never going to play a game that I feel forced to. You have to play it the way the rules are written. Because the reality is everybody's going to make mistakes. They can proofread something 50 times, they're still going to miss it. Something. And I don't want to be tortured, year after year after year having to play in a way it doesn't make any sense because the rules were written that way. I can't go for that. So when I was 12 years old, that's the year that they made this model. And some years they'll use this. They'll use them. Well, they'll bring them back and things like that. But this one supposedly only got used in 1983. Whole point of this black lining is you can have some contrast. And you can see what's going on 3-4 feet away. Yeah, man. Now I got a hand paint Bumba clock on here somewhere, probably on the front here, probably in red. Which actually means, I found out means period cloth. You call somebody a bumba clock, you're calling them basically a douche, I guess would be as close to equivalency of a put down. Bumba clot. Well, I get the clock part, but I think most of the people at the model meeting, they don't understand this. You build something and then you play a game with it. Some do, but some are like, and I can't understand, like building something and then like putting it somewhere and never touching it. Like, not making me want to build more of them. And everybody that does this black lining, they frequently like using that Tamiya. That Tamiya, whatever it's called. This right here. And honestly, I bought this by mistake. This panel line accent color. It's no darker and doesn't work any better than this. And the cleanup is a pain in the ass. And it smells bad. Because it's not a Tamiya product, and it's enamel, basically. It's not, alcohol based. I figured, okay, well, it'll flow better than this. Nope. Okay, well, maybe it'll be a darker shade and you won't have to like go over it so many. Nope. I'm like, so why am I using that? You know? And then if it's not dark enough for you, just go over those spots again. But this game became really popular around 2017. We played it probably half dozen times. One of the folks in our game group really he kind of was the person who was running all the games. He moved on. You know, I saw that it had some loopholes. Kind of lost interest in it. And now picking it back up, and it's got a lot of potential. I really enjoy doing these cars. Coming up with names for them. Shopping for them. And you'll see people all the time. They'll be like, hey, I built this. Help me name it. I'm like, how the hell didn't you already name it? Like, that's like the first thing I do. Well, it looks like we boogered this up. Well, weathering will take care of that. I mean, I have this thing named and what it's going to be armed with before I start doing anything else to it. You know, I want to put a rocket launcher on here and then realize, oh, I don't have the points or the build slots or something for it. You know? But some people don't care. I do care about what you see is what you get. And it's more user friendly too. Like you got somebody playing, it's like, hey, what kind of cannon does that have? If your vehicle doesn't have a cannon, then people that don't know how to play a game shouldn't be trying to confuse and go like, oh, you don't actually have a cannon at all. Like, yeah, we're not going there. You know, we're not doing that. We're not doing that whole, well, I know he's armed with a bow, but isn't shoot at a distance nonsense. We're not doing that crap anymore. But, you know, the game, it's got good potential as long as you create with your own alternative storyline. I hated the teams and the storyline behind the game, which is really irrelevant. You can make it whatever the hell you want it to be, you know? This whole Mars thing, I'm like, okay, yeah, whatever. But there's a lot of potential to do this, to play this in so many different ways. You know? Okay, I think we can let that dry. Did we do the... We did not do this. Okay. Let's do this part. And of course, we still have brown washes and things to do like that. All right, we need to change the face color on this dude. Because unless he's an albino guy, ain't nobody look like this guy. Now, I'm going to go easy on this. I don't want it to be too thick, the paint, or I'm going to cover over the lines of that guy. I don't want to really do that. So I might actually take strong tone. Now let's use paint, and let's try this. Is this the chocolate brown or the leather brown? This is the chocolate brown. Let's try the chocolate brown. Okay, yeah, I like that, but the problem is there we go. Now we gotta wipe off. Much better. Much better. All right, well, it's 9:30. I'm going to go ahead and call it a night. I'm going to pick up, I need this to dry a little bit before we start adding some of the washes and stuff. But moving right along with that stuff.